Elizabeth Ssemanda, welcome to the Motivate Collective podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's wonderful to be here.
I'm so glad. For those out there who don't know what you do, what can you share about what you do for work and your background?
I'm a holistic psychiatrist. I'm also a medical intuitive. I am um, really passionate about empowerment. Um, I feel like there is so much potential for humanity, and I have a podcast as well called Stepping into Soul Power that I do, and yeah, so I'm busy.
You are doing a bit of everything. So
Yeah.
you are a psychiatrist as well. What
Yes.
does that this feels like an obvious question asking what does that involve? But let's bust some myths around that. What's the reality of being a psychiatrist?
So technically I'm a medical doctor. I went to medical school, did the rotations. I did a residency in psychiatry. So med school is 4 years, residency in psychiatry is 4 years. And um I then you get licensed in a state. Right now I'm licensed in Texas and California, and so I can practice medicine. So right now, where psychiatry is right now, it's a lot of medication management, but I'm also really passionate about other healing modalities and therapy. I love it. I think therapy can be really, really helpful. So I do that in my practice, but I like to think a little bit outside the box. And so when people come to see me, um, I think that there are many ways that you can get better. And so I'm interested in getting to a good understanding of what the root cause is, which is a little bit different than what most psychiatrists right now do. Right now, I feel like in the field, it's primarily symptom management, but I feel like we collectively in the field have kind of gone astray from what people truly want. People want us to well, to help them solve their problems and to be just a collaborative force in that. And so I am, in my practice, I'm interested in figuring out why people are there, looking outside the box, thinking outside the box, and really empowerment for patients because I feel like there are not enough psychiatrists, there are not enough therapists, and so whatever we can do to help people help themselves, great.
Absolutely. Do you think that people have become dependent on therapists? And as much as it can be useful, there are moments in between when we can't get to someone for help, when we need to know what we can do for ourselves.
I don't know if people are dependent on therapists. Maybe that there are some. I feel like therapists are so busy. Like,
There isn't the
uh,
availability.
yeah, yeah. I feel like we've got an access issue. Um, I do think that um, a lot of the work that happens is in between sessions, is you living your everyday life. That's where you get to apply a lot of the skills if you're learning skills in sessions. And so um, in many ways that's where the real, I mean, it is helpful to be with someone and to have that interaction where you feel heard, um, and where you learn things about yourself and how you view the world. I think that that is helpful, but there's a lot of learning that happens in life. Like, life is a school.
Okay, what should we be learning? What can we be doing in our everyday lives to sort ourselves out, basically?
Oh my gosh, this is my favorite. This is a great question. What should we be learning? I think that there. are really important things. Number one, I would say, is being able to um, feel your emotions and manage your emotions. I think that um, a lot of sometimes we get into problems when we don't do that, and there are unhealthy ways that we as a society do to avoid emotions, and you see it all the time. Like, so people will either drink a little bit more than they should, or smoke a little bit more than they should, or eat emotionally to avoid feelings. So being able to regulate your emotions, feel your emotions, and then let go. Let go can be letting go of like tough things like guilt, shame, um, grief. It can be hard. Uh, so so that's one thing. The other thing that I think is incredibly important is being able to master your energy. And um, and I say this because I think um, it's such an important part. I'm so in addition, I'm a holistic psychiatrist, but I'm a medical intuitive, and so I've have some background in Reiki and energy healing, and so I think that some of the issues that I see when people start to have problems is when their energies are like all over. They don't know how to deal with it, and so being very clear about what are the things that energize you, what drains you, having healthy boundaries. I think that's incredibly important. Um, and and then the other thing I would say that's really important is being able to be clear about who you are. And I say this because I think a lot of people, like when we're growing up, for the first maybe 6 7 years, we're like sponges. We're just soaking up all the things that our parents say, that people in our community say, that the TV says. Like, we're soaking it up, and some of those things that we soak up aren't really who true to who we intrinsically are. So part of the maturation process that we we've got to go through is like kind of um starting to know ourselves and then let go of the things that aren't us and that aren't serving us. So I think those are the tough to do, but really I feel like are really incredibly important.
Yes. Letting go of the things that are not us, that is especially crucial in this economy because a lot of us grew up with a traditional view of what a career should look like, of what an identity should be. And
Yes.
now we are all needing to have a bit more attention on ourselves in any form, and we are needing to differentiate ourselves. I think it's a very interesting time in history, and that mindset shift really flows into letting go of some of those feelings of maybe shame, maybe nervousness of some sort, but also letting go of the beliefs that we grew up with. What sort of limiting beliefs have you seen in people and in yourself?
Oh, limiting beliefs. Oh, this is a big topic. uh I am so one I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I've grown, and part of that, I will say, in my background, that I grew up in a very Catholic, and I'm not knocking Catholic, Catholic, the establishment, but I grew up in a very strict Catholic household. There were lots of rules, and in order to, like, and my dad, my parents had lots of kids, and so you
Lots.
were just, pardon me?
Lots? What how many kids did they have?
So we're a blended family. So my mom, um, for my mom's got 4 kids, but my dad has 9 kids. He also adopted. I know. Why are you looking?
Sorry, but amazing.
Your face was like, girl.
Wow. Okay, so
Let me just say this. In So I have a Ugandan background. I was born in the U.S., but I have a Ugandan background. But in Africa, the way that kids are looked as like having a child is like being wealthy, right? So
right.
that there's that mindset, like children bring you wealth, like they're just
That's
not a
interesting. So children were seen as part of abundance,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And when you don't have kids, it's
like you're missing out.
yeah, yeah. It's tough, and I feel for the women in Ugandan society when they don't have kids. It is that there's a lot of heartache that goes into that. Um,
We'll explore that for sure because that's a whole topic in itself for every country to think about. But so your mum had a few kids and your dad had more kids.
yes, yes, yeah, and and um, that culture is just there are lots of rules. There're just so many rules, and so I think um, it, there was just some programming where I was just taught like you gotta perform, you have to do well in school, like all of that stuff. And and I did, but like um when you grow up in a space like that, there can be an internal dialogue where I am not enough because it's always like you can do better, 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 better. Um, Catholicism. So I'm not knocking Catholic.
Okay. Actually, let's unpack this for a second.
Yes.
So there was the Catholic angle of you wanted to feel good enough and be good enough, but also
Yeah.
were you also trying to stand out in essentially a group of kids trying to
Yes.
even be seen?
Yes. Yes. And so that is a limiting belief that I really had to work through because I think I um, I went to a lot of institutions. I went to great schools. I went to Brown University. I went to Johns Hopkins University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Great schools, and in those institutions, like I was. I'm like the black girl. So it was like there are not a lot of people that look like me. Um, and and so dealing with things that come up with and the other thing too, right? My parents didn't pay for my education. Like I got loans, you know and that's not the case for quite a few people at like an institution at Brown. So that there are like class differences. Like I remember when I was arriving at Brown, I had like one suitcase, right? One. And my roommate had like suitcases upon suitcases upon suitcases. So yeah, so dealing with class differences, differences, um, as I've like progressed, um, and having to really learn to appreciate me, like what I bring to the table, and that even though I might be a little bit different, I'm adding something of value, and that I belong. And I've gotten to a much better place with that, but it was a process. Like I'll tell you a story. So look at my hair, right?
It's amazing. I
Hair.
love it.
Huh? Oh, yeah.
So good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But when I was growing up, um, like it was just better. Like having my hair straightened was a really big thing. Like I think for years I wore my hair straightened. And and then it was a really big deal when I decided to cut it off. And then just grow my hair naturally. But like I said, it's been a process learning to love me and know that I'm enough and that I belong. And so I think that is what a limiting belief that I've struggled with, and that I see a lot of people struggle with. And you can tell this because think about like what happens when we watch TV. Like people are selling someone and basically something, and basically the message is you're doing it wrong, you're not enough, blah 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 blah. so so we get it from a lot of different places, and and it takes some courage and self-awareness and um, maybe a little bit of grit and persistence to want to push past that.
Yes, and the appearance, that's an interesting one because I think a lot of us listeners, almost everybody will feel self-conscious, feel awkward about something about our appearance. And as a psychiatrist, I trust that you can guide us in making peace with our appearance. And there's a lot of body image confidence these days, but I
Yeah.
was recently sharing with another guest that I most half of my life, I felt very embarrassed because there's a long scar across half of my tummy. And so growing up, if you remember the old era of Britney Spears, Christina, all of them, and all the crop tops,
Yeah.
that era, I felt so embarrassed. I felt, a lot of shame basically. And everybody would have something they feel embarrassed about with their appearance. So I'm curious, how do you guide people to make peace with how they look and feel proud about it?
I think it starts with awareness and being clear about what exactly is going on. So what I um ask people to do is maybe start paying attention to the dialogue, the thoughts that are going on. Um and almost taking yourself like as if you're on the outside looking in, and like, oh, what is this person saying, and sometimes it you will recognize, oh, this sounds like my mother, or it might have come from that. Or like, yeah, and so paying attention to those thoughts, you'll have a better sense of, okay, well, what's the origin, and then um being very clear, like, is this true for me, you know and that's another question I ask people to think about. And then I you know it's important to, you said something really interesting, is make peace, right? There are aspects of ourselves, and I like to think about like the shadow that we push away to the side, and when we don't acknowledge them, they start they'll seep into different things and start causing issues, and get us into some challenging situations. And so being clear as far as you're clear about the thoughts, you're thinking about the source, where is this coming from, you're also um, thinking about how you want to relate to them, and how you want to relate to yourself. And one thing that I challenge people to do, right? Like, so when I think of peace, it means coming to some sort of understanding, or yeah, coming to an understanding, or moving toward the space where you can uh, coexist. And I like to go into the heart space. and um, ask people to listen to the heart, connect to their heart, for guidance as to like how to navigate that. Because I feel like for many of us, a lot of times we know the answer. Like we have such great wisdom within us, but I think part of the challenge that we have is that many times we don't listen to it, or there's like so much noise going on that we can't hear the wisdom that our inner self is trying to tell us.
What does that noise look like? Is it the other opinions around us? Is it scrolling on our phones? Is it something else?
Yeah, yeah. So other people's opinions, like I think for many times we care a lot about what other people think, right? It's kind of like what you said before. Like I mean, shame is real. Like and it takes a lot of courage to be authentically ourselves in this society. Because people will say some things that really like, like daggers to the heart. Um, and so the noise is other people. The noise is like sometimes the things that we do, like so even things like work can be a distraction too. Like we can find other ways to not be here. Sometimes getting preoccupied with the past is a can be the noise, or being preoccupied with the future can be noise. And like you said, scrolling, like it is a phenomenon, just how addictive cell phones can be.
They are.
Yeah, they made them to be that way.
Yes, it's designed to be addictive. I'm wondering
Yeah,
if you have looked into at all how they are apparently designed a bit like gambling, especially the
yeah.
apps, the way we are meant to relate to them. And I'm wondering if you've seen the impact on adults or children or both with the addiction, because I'm really worried.
Yeah, I'm worried too. And you see it in a society. You can't go to a restaurant where someone isn't looking at their phone or on their phone, or people having dinner and everyone's on their phone, or kids are on their tablet. I think it's had it's I think that it's technology, the internet has been great in a couple of ways. Like, yeah, we're able to text each other, we can FaceTime, like that's great. That's wonderful. But um it's taken, I feel like in some ways we are socially stunted, especially when we are in the presence of other people, like physical presence, like the quality of that interaction has changed
Yes.
because something is here blocking that.
Yes,
And
it's
go ahead.
the phones and also post-COVID as well. I think in every country, people took a few years to relearn how to be social and to convince themselves to get out there. Do you think so?
Absolutely. And they're still going through it. Like I remember practicing psychiatry before COVID, and now practicing it afterwards. And the social anxiety has definitely gone up.
Really?
Definitely gone up. Like it is, it's a whole different ball game. And I think that I mean, I think we've got to start to be very intentional about how we use devices and what value they add. And then, with everything, right, there are pluses and minuses. And what is having this device, in this particular instance, in what way is it interfering with how I want to connect with another person?
Yes, and I'm wondering about our need to present ourselves online because I know that we can connect and people can feel more connected with us from a distance when we are sharing a chunk of our lives, but I'm seeing my own habits that I think a lot of people are doing as well, where frankly, too many times I went walking at the beach and I got in the habit of take a video, take a photo of it and check how many
Yeah.
people are looking at it. And we have forgot how to just go into nature or go and explore without showing it to the world. And do you think that for anyone who is, I mean, you have a personal brand and you are doing your independent work, and I'm curious, how do you how do you balance having a personal brand and still having some privacy and also just some time where you're not having that spectacle mindset of life being a performance?
Jeez, I don't know. Am I so I have a personal brand. I don't know if I feel like you're saying that I put the whole ton of thought thought into it.
Oh, we all
Yeah.
okay, we're all on the internet in some way, I'll say that.
Yeah, I am in the internet. I think um hmm, I I feel like I tend to be there's some aspects of my life that I will not share that are sacred to me. And I think as individuals, we have to start being clear about what that line is and being able to uh, understand like where does um, when does it get detrimental to our like psychological well-being. I think that especially for younger people, I know that they've done studies is that like the more posting, the more scrolling that younger people do, they tend to be more anxious, more depressed. So I think having limits, boundaries, I mean, I know for kids, like we've got screen time limits, and I know some tech people who will not let their kids use tablets at all. So I think a big chunk of this is really listening to ourselves and being clear about what's healthy for us. It's that question, is this bringing value to me, and um is it also positively affecting my health, and being able to say yes to those things, and if it's no to either one, making changes as needed.
Absolutely. So with the screen time for kids, I'm just going to use this opportunity to ask about it, if you have looked at this a bit, because I saw some experts and specialists saying that the device can be emotionally regulating. Is that just a bit of an excuse? I don't feel convinced
Hold
that it's
on.
the best emotional regulation.
I I haven't heard that. I think I'm a big believer that people need to regulate their emotions, and I feel like parents have a very special place in modeling emotion regulation to their children. And I'm a huge believer in in parents really teaching this to their kids. I think that in older generations, I don't necessarily think that healthy ways of regulating our emotions were modeled, but there's so much right now that you could. I mean, you can get decent. I feel like people have video, but you got therapists that are out there like saying, "Hey, this is what you do," So I think there's yeah, I wouldn't. I would ask people to take responsibility for their lives and to be the ones that regulate their own emotions, and then model that to their kids and
Nice,
not
nice.
have a device. It's like me saying like my cell phone regulates what? No. My computer does. Stop it.
Totally, just don't.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm so keen to get a bit more light for a second, and I'll edit this out. I just want to give
Oh,
this
no.
a bit better light. Okay, that's a bit better. So, I'm curious, what other issues have you seen in the psychiatry space? What other issues do individuals have where their intuition could be helping them or listening to what they know?
I feel like intuition can be helpful in all scenario, like incredibly
Everything.
helpful in most scenarios. I think um it's important to know when it's I feel like there are some things that can make it tough to hear our intuition, like when we're in a state of fear, when we are doubting ourselves, it can be tough to really hear that inner voice or really pay attention to what our inner self is trying to tell us. But I feel like it can be helpful in anxiety. I feel in managing past traumas, and I feel like I think that intuition, this is a part of our everyday life. I think what the challenge a lot of us have is learning to trust ourselves and follow through with what our intuition is trying to tell us. I think many times we may ignore it and then we end up in trouble,
We
big
do.
trouble.
Okay, so have you ever done that to yourself?
Yeah, I'm human. I'm a work in progress. I am a work in progress. I think that um, sometimes uh I think I really am I care a lot about people, and sometimes I'll get a feeling like, maybe this is not the best relationship for you, but I'll be like, oh, I sometimes I see the potential and um might ignore some things, but I've gotten a lot better with that program. That program.
Right, right. So, one thing I was really keen to ask about is how you combine your scientific background and the Reiki background, because often we see the Reiki side and those alternative modalities as very separate from the mainstream, but you have brought both together. So I'm curious, how did that happen, and do you always do both together? What do you say to those who are trying to keep those 2 spaces separate?
Oh, okay. So I'll clarify a couple things. So I do so I have my psychiatry practice, but my psychiatry practice is like I've sequestered it as like it's psychiatry, medication management, therapy, and we'll talk about other healing modalities, but I don't do Reiki in my psychiatry practice. I will say that it is possible. I know of people who do both, who combine Reiki and psychotherapy, and there are a lot of benefits to actually doing that. Um, I don't know. Have you had Reiki before?
There was some Reiki from from the teachers when I was at yoga class. So, there was a bit, but I haven't had a dedicated session of only receiving Reiki.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, so uh, a lot of times, many times, right, when you're getting Reiki, a lot of people feel very relaxed. And that is a wonderful, can be a really helpful state to be in if you're doing some type of psychotherapy. Or if, let's say, you are someone that is a bit of an overthinker. Sometimes, like, even just going to a psychiatrist or a therapist, office, you're like, oh, and it's anxiety provoking. But I would say maybe if they included something like Reiki where you relaxed, you'd be more open to kind of getting to the heart of some of the issues. So there's a lot of potential there, and I do know people who are combining it, but I don't at this time. I am I have this certification. I'm just not doing that right now in my practice. But I think I might. I don't know. I love combining the two. Um,
Yes, for those who don't know, I think we should explain what Reiki is.
so Reiki is it is a type of energy healing, and so usually the whoever the practitioner is will like send you energy, and a lot of people who are Reiki practitioners are fairly intuitive, and and so may pick up information about your body as they're doing it. So it can be really helpful. And the thing is, this is not all. It's not all woo woo. I know they're even at the. I know.
No, I'm glad you're saying that. We're all thinking it. I think the intuition has been discredited far too much by the scientific world in recent decades, even though it's very normal for anybody to suspect something or have a hunch that they can't totally explain, or they think, I'm just pretty sure something might be happening, but I can't quite find it. So what exactly is the intuition to you, and how how do we translate that to the people who don't quite understand it?
I will say this: every single person is intuitive. Everyone is. It's just I'll say like there are some people. It's like let's say it's a sport. We can think of a sport. There are some people who are great, who are like Michael Jordan, and they're great at intuition. And then there are other people who are like can dribble the basket, like. But we all have it. I think we there there isn't a lot of formal training for it. Um, in Yeah, I would say at all. Like, I don't think in any in most academic institutions, like they don't even talk about it, but we use it all the time. We use it, and many practitioners, right? Like any people who are in the medical field will be able to get a sense of things, um, and it will help them. Um,
Actually, there's a
but
point. I'm curious about that. So, in medicine, do you sometimes think, I'm pretty sure this thing could be happening, but I'd need to do a few tests to
to
be totally
clarify,
sure, to clarify, to prove
yeah,
it, but it
yeah,
totally feels like it has to be this thing going on?
yeah, we all, I mean, this is part of the human experience. It's part of the human experience. And I think that there is so much potential if if while people were in medical school or residency that we helped people fine tune that skill so they can be even better diagnosticians. I think that that is the dream, that we would really, rather than, I think it's important to understand a set set skills, like every doctor should know this, but really helping an individual person be, first of all, understand who they are, but then be able to know and use the strengths that they have, um and being able to really develop their intuition is a part of that. And for me, um I am a huge fan of medical intuition, and think there's so much potential there, and would love to see it taught in, like I said, medical schools, residencies, in nursing schools. Think it would be great.
Absolutely. What do you say to the medical professionals and the academics out there who need a bit of convincing that intuition needs to be taught. And what would that look like? Would you have something in a curriculum, or would it be simply a culture that's encouraged all the time?
I think that um, I feel like I can testify to the experience that I've had as a physician, because I went through medical school the regular way. I went through medical school where I memorized everything and I studied for the tests, um and after learning medical intuition, I saw how I was working a lot harder than I needed to.
Working
Um,
harder?
putting so when you're a medical intuitive, you you are fine tuning your intuition so that you get intuitive knowledge, right? And um, you might you might ask different questions than if you just kind of went with how things always are, right? Like in psychiatry, we've got standard protocol of like these are all the questions that you need to ask, and so maybe you might focus on all those questions when really, like, this person would benefit from something that's not even on that list.
Yes, so there are other questions that need to be asked, and the
Yes.
position, the standard doesn't
Yes, and
really ask about those other things.
absolutely, and that's where I feel like there's a huge place for medical intuition for catching those things that aren't ordinary, for things that are zebra. It just, I feel like it saves the patient a lot of time. It's not easy to be sick. It's
No,
not.
it's
It
not.
sucks.
And do you think sometimes is part of the problem that things are so clinical that in some medical spaces, people are only focusing on the things that look medical when maybe a lifestyle factor could be impacting someone's health?
Yeah, I think that there is truth to that. I think we've got to start looking at the whole person, and that means mind, body, and spirit. And we need to, because our patients are, um, like, we've got to do better, and they deserve the best, and so we've got to change. If we are really going to be dedicated to excellence, that has to be a part of wherever medicine is going, this new era, because
Yes.
AI is changing the game.
Okay, let's talk about that for a moment. We have so much to talk about. AI. What have you seen with AI in your field?
So, like I said, I was practicing medicine before AI showed up, and then after, I remember practicing medicine when we had paper charts. But now things have changed. I think documentation has gotten a lot easier. Like, AI will do it for you, but there are things that AI doesn't notice. There's something about having a conversation with a real person, because you can have words. They can pick up words, but there's communication in the way something's said, like girl or girl, like like
Totally.
you. Yeah, there are nuances, and then there are cultural differences. And I will tell you this, that AI right now is much more uh like, it's really biased towards Western thinking. Like, so think about all the cultures where people aren't put in, like, if it's not English, and like, so there's a lot of things that are being, there are some things that are being
So
missed.
cultural factors are not always going into the AI input.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, so that is another thing. Um, and people like I know that people are using AI as companions. Some people are using them. I don't even know if I should say, but people are using them in all different types of ways.
I guess if there's anything we can censor, we can, but you can go in any direction and then let me know what we should chop or beep out.
Yeah, well, I think that um, I have I think that there's a lot of potential with AI, but AI is only going to be as good as the people who are using it. And so that doesn't excuse us from not developing ourselves. Like we have to be smart too. We've got to, I mean, we're the people that put in the prompts.
Yes, and that's something we all need to understand, and
Yeah.
I found that I was at risk a bit because I trusted AI to inform my decisions based on what it could learn from me online. But of course, the internet just gets the best version of me. And I had to tell AI the parts of the worst of the reality. If it was going to make more of an informed decision, it can't just go with what's online. And I think this logic, I wish that everybody could have had a bit of a techie background because I grew up around tech minded people who said, aside from the old turn the computer off and on again, of course, we all heard that, but also any program, software, anything like that, any computer is only as good as the information it receives from the person who gave it information.
100%. 100%. So we've got to get smarter. We've got to know ourselves. We got to develop our smell cells. We got to know our strengths and then capitalize on that. Like I think that as as human beings, there is so much potential that we have for greatness, and we're barely tapping into it. But I have hope. I definitely have hope.
Do you think that part of the solution is to create more opportunities for a human connection? I've been somehow coming back to this quite a bit on the show recently because you talked about, of course, the doctor patient connection. But beyond that, are you seeing? We talked before actually about how people need to remember how to connect with community. What do you think that looks like? Do you think in your area or anywhere you have seen, do you think people need more groups? Do you think people need the courage to even start a conversation? Where do you think we are with all of that?
I feel like there's an epidemic of loneliness. I think that people connect digitally, but there is a huge, I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that it's true that people may be around other people but feel lonely. And so I think we were meant to be in community.
Yes.
And there is something that is incredibly therapeutic about being in the presence of another person, especially when that person hears you.
Yes. And I want to urge anyone who is at a screen a lot to balance it out with the opposite. Yesterday, to give you my experience of just a day ago, I had 3 podcast recordings and 1 extra appointment on the computer. Aside from that, I was basically talking to a screen for about 4 hours. After that, I went to the beach. I just got some sun and let the waves toss me around for a bit. And then I saw family for a moment and then I went to yoga class around other people. How would my brain have been going if after 4 hours of screen, I then just stared at a meditation video on YouTube? There's nothing wrong with those, but if I was just going from screen to screen, I think sometimes, let me know if you agree, sometimes the solution, the therapeutic solution is not always another screen as much as they have their place.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is let me so what you are doing is you're getting grounded. You're doing a lot of things, right? So you're going to the beach, you're getting grounded, you're feeling the the sand underneath your toes. You're also going outside and getting there is healing energy from the sun. That's where we get our vitamin D. So you are nourishing yourself in that way. I I am, and there is something about being outside. I don't think we were meant to spend, I don't know, 20 whatever, or I don't know, 16, 18, 20 something plus hours a day inside.
Yes, totally.
So, and definitely not in front of a screen. But we do it. Like I'll be honest with, like I've had jobs where it's been entirely remote, and I've been, from 8 to 6, seeing patients. Boom, 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 boom.
Elizabeth Ssemanda, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, you're welcome. It was a pleasure to be here. Many blessings to you.
You too. Bye.